I've always considered myself a skeptic, someone who seeks logical explanations before believing in ghost stories. That mindset led me to my last adventure, an attempt to unravel the mysteries of the House of Laments, the old mansion that stood on the outskirts of the small town I had moved to for work. My name is Elena, and I'm a freelance journalist. I came to this place seeking peace and inspiration, but what I found is something I'll never forget. From the very first day, the townsfolk warned me to stay away from the house. It was as though the place was cloaked in a shroud of collective fear. People said that no one who entered ever came out the same, that the shadows inside seemed to come alive, and that the last inhabitants had mysteriously disappeared. But those tales only fueled my curiosity. I needed to understand what made this mansion so terrifying. It was a cold October night when I decided the time had come to investigate. Armed with a flashlight, a recorder, and my camera, I was ready to document whatever I might find. As I approached the mansion, the wind whispered through the trees, as if trying to warn me. When I arrived, I was surprised to see the front door slightly ajar, as if someone or something was expecting me. With each step I took, the mansion greeted me with an oppressive silence. The wooden floors groaned beneath my feet, and the air was thick with dampness and dust. Despite the chill running down my spine, I forced myself to move forward. The first floor was nearly empty, save for furniture draped in white sheets that looked like ghosts trapped in time. As I moved deeper into the house, I felt something watching me from the shadows. Climbing the stairs, the air grew heavier, and a sense of unease settled in my chest. On the second floor, I found a door slightly ajar. Inside was what seemed to be an old study. Dusty books lined the shelves, and the desk was strewn with yellowed papers. One of them caught my attention: a diary. The diary belonged to the mother of the family who had lived there. The first pages described a normal, everyday life, but as I read on, the tone shifted. It spoke of voices whispering in the night, shadows moving through the house, and the constant feeling of being watched. The final entry sent a chill through me. "We cannot stay here. The house wants us. It's trapping us." Suddenly I heard a thud behind me. I spun around, but no one was there. The door, however, had slammed shut. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge, as though something or someone was determined to keep me inside. My flashlight began to flicker, and in the dim light, a whisper brushed against my ear. "Why did you come?" Panic began to take hold of me. I tried to stay calm, searching for a way out, but every door seemed to close as I approached it. The shadows in the room began to shift, and I had the unmistakable feeling that I was not alone. Then I saw it. A dark figure watching me from the doorway. I bolted toward the window, pounding on it until it finally gave way. I leapt outside, landing awkwardly in the leaf-covered garden. Gasping for breath, I ran toward the main road, not daring to look back. That night, I barely slept. The next day, I spoke to some locals about what I had seen. Most looked at me with disbelief, but one elderly man approached me with a grave expression. "That house doesn't forget," he said. "The family who lived there disappeared years ago, and those who enter never leave the same." His words only deepened my need for answers. At the town library, I discovered that the family who had lived there had endured a tragedy. The mother and children vanished one night, leaving the father alone. In the years that followed, the man became reclusive, immersing himself in the occult in an attempt to bring his family back. That night, I returned to the mansion. This time, I brought a new flashlight and my recorder. The atmosphere was even more oppressive than before. I went straight to the study, where I once again found the diary. This time, I recorded myself reading the most disturbing entries aloud. "If someone is here, please speak to me," I called out. My voice echoed in the empty room. At first, nothing happened. Then a cold wind swept through the space, and I heard the faint sound of children laughing. the laughter grew louder, and the shadows in the room began to stir. Then I saw them. Children, ethereal figures with pale faces. I tried to speak to them, but they only smiled before vanishing into the darkness. "Where are your parents?" I asked, but instead of an answer, the laughter turned to whispers. "Come play with us," they said. The temperature plummeted, and the room began to shift, flickering between reality and something far darker. I felt the house trying to pull me in, just as the diary had warned. Summoning all my courage, I ran for the front door. This time it opened, and I fled without looking back. The next day, I decided to leave the town. I couldn't bear the feeling that something was following me, that the house had left its mark on me. Sometimes at night, I still hear laughter and whispers. I know the house doesn't forget, and I fear that somehow it will never let me go. It will never.